Oh, thank you so much, Shanti Garba, and a very warm welcome to you all. Thank you so much for inviting me. And yeah, what a rich festival and conference, really amazing. So yeah, I've got this topic, eco-selves as part of ecosystems, and the eco-selves being as a thought really that we all have our ecological selves, which I suppose is about how we understand that the ecosystems live within ourselves, as well as we are within the greater ecosystem or part of the planet Earth. And I just love that quote from Seth, and I will sort of show it in a minute as well. So basically, just to say, today will be quite interactive, a bit participatory, but please feel free to take part as much as you want or not. I'm going to do a very brief PowerPoint just to sort of talk about deep ecology and elements of Buddhism, which I'm sure many of you probably know even more than I do. I've only sort of more recently really researched deep ecology, which I think is very interesting and very useful. And then I'm going to suggest doing a sort of guided meditation stroke, a spiritual journey, ecological journey as well, which I'll invite you to take part in. And I also invite you to just respond, to find ways of what I call mark making. My sister is an artist, and she talks about mark making. It's just really, you can either draw or write something or sketch something or doodle, whatever. And please, feel free to put things in the chat box. I'll try and keep an eye on it as much as I possibly can. And then we'll go into some breakout groups as well. So I hope we'll have a great conversation. And I have really sort of questions about what we can learn together in this next hour that we're spending together. How can we deepen our experiences of our own ecological selves? What new insight and impulses can we discover together? And how can we use all of ourselves, including our fear and grief, to create joy and community? Because I really believe that it's what we're doing at this very moment that will affect our future and the future of the planet as well. So it's just an extraordinary occasion of what you've put together here, Shanti Garba, and everybody in the committee. So it's very powerful, I think, that we're just even contemplating these themes. So I'll just briefly share my screen, and hopefully I can make this all work. And a brief PowerPoint. Here we go. I hope you can see my screen now. Is that right? Cool. Thank you very much. So this is eco-selves as part of ecosystems. What can Buddhism and deep ecology contribute to social and cultural transformation? I'm just going back again to Speth's quote that he really, Shanti Garba's already read it out, but I'll just read it again if you don't mind. So he says, I used to think that the top global environmental problems were biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, and climate change. And I thought that with 30 years of good science, we could address these problems, but I was wrong. And I think that's what we're all grappling with, aren't we? Why are people not believing it? What is happening? Why can't we change our behaviors collectively? So he says the top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy, which are also Buddhist concepts about the three poisons or the three evils. And to deal with these, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation. So that's what I'm really trying to grapple with in myself. And I just thought we could maybe share here as we go. So, what is this spiritual and cultural transformation? So what is the social transformation that we need in ourselves and collectively? Oops, hang on. There we go. So just briefly, a tiny bit about deep ecology. Again, you may know loads about it, and please do join in. I'm just giving a sort of whistle-stop tour, really. So deep ecology is various things. It's a philosophy, a worldview. It's also a methodology. It's a movement, and I'd say it's very much the spiritual aspect of the ecological movement. And that's why I think it's very interesting and very important. And it has been influenced by Gandhian thought, nonviolent communication, also Buddhist ideas, as well as Spinoza and Christianity and Arne Naess's personal, what he calls ecosophies. So you like the wisdom of ecology. So Arne Naess was a Norwegian scientist and ecologist, and he coined the phrase at the beginning of the 70s, and it was then picked up by a lot of activists, including Joanna Macy, and who then, in a way, from that, I think, evolved her, all her ideas, and also by people like John Seed and David Loy and other Buddhist thinkers, as well as from other cultural backgrounds. So the philosophy and worldview aspect, he talks about, the main thing is the belief, which we can share, anybody who is a deep ecologist can share, which is the flourishing of all human and non-human life on Earth has inherent value independent to their usefulness to human purposes. So we have, the rich diversity of life is inherently important and respect-worthy. I'm sure all of us here would agree with that, but that's not an ideology that's sort of shared everywhere. Also, he believes that there needs to be an ideological change, that is necessary, and that change is really from more and more and growth economy to appreciating the quality of life. And so that it's really about how can we create more quality rather than quantity. So it's not about accumulating things, but how can we create the treasures of the heart, in a way, between us, amongst ourselves in our own lives and with each other. And also it encompasses, there's a deep ecology worldview, encompasses diverse philosophies of nature, so which include things like the Gaia principle, and seeing planet Earth as a living, creative and evolving life form in itself, and also seeing nature as continually creating itself based on a principle of compassion. So again, if anybody's got any questions or comments, please just share that. It's also, oops, I jumped one. It's also a political platform. So I suppose that's where it can collect us. And he has 9 different platform sort of beliefs. But I think the main idea is that it can unify. It's a unifying principle for a diversity of activists. And in a way, the greater the diversity, the more powerful this can be, because it's a bit like an ecosystem. When you have a rich, diverse ecosystem, it's resilient, it's strong, it's alive, it's rich. And the same with deep ecology. So it can really unify people from very different backgrounds and different belief systems. It also has the belief that policies are needed to change, to have affecting basic social, economic and technological and also ideological structures. So it's quite pragmatic, it's quite practical. There is a sense of we have to change the policies and I think a lot of the green movement also came, the European green movement, particularly in Germany and other countries, very much was influenced in its original ideas by deep ecology and Arne Naess. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his name right. And also he says about making a more joyful experience of the connectedness of all things, which I just think is wonderful, is this idea of really understanding our deep connectedness and creating joy from that. He also says it's a methodology. It's based on deep questioning of the underlying causes of the ecological crisis, including the worldviews that have created the climate and ecological crisis, which are often very Abrahamic, particularly Christianity, which has led to capitalism, as we know, and a lot of scientific, the divorcing of science from an understanding of the whole in many ways, not always. And as I said before, it has a concern with spiritual and religious approaches, which is so it's very opposite to the technological aspect of climate change. And it's sort of looking at that cultural aspect. And it's a movement. So it's really about all of us activists being able to, or not, being able to share in a movement. So then I've just I'm sure you've been discussing many of these things in many of the other talks, but some of the Buddhist principles which I think connect to deep ecology and which are very helpful. So Praticca Samutpada, which is the Sanskrit version, or Paticca Samuppada, the Pali version, dependent origination, which again, as we know, is Indra's net, which is about the interconnection of all life, but on a very deep, interrelated way, because I think these days a lot of people talk about interconnectedness, but our understanding of that is so profound, I feel, and I need to constantly go deeper with that myself, but to really understand life as that dependent origination, that nothing can live independently, and that we contain the universe as well as the universe containing us. Then the idea of the three poisons, which Speth also mentions at the beginning, the three poisons, or the three evils, they're also called, of greed, anger or ill will, and delusion or ignorance. And systemically, they become consumerism. So greed becomes consumerism, always wanting more. Anger or ill will becomes militarism or warfare, you know, that we want to, it also has a lot to do with arrogance, that we feel we're better than somebody else, or know more and understand more deeply. And the idea of delusion or ignorance, which really leads to an alienation from ourselves, from each other, and from the earth, and which I believe has led to the climate and ecological crisis. And then, of course, the opposite of that are the three qualities of the Buddha, which are compassion, courage, and wisdom. And in a way, our practice is that's what I am trying to do, and I'm sure we're all trying to do, is transform our own inner greed, anger, and delusion into compassion, courage, and wisdom, and to try and bring that out as much as possible. And then the other aspect, which I think is very interesting, is this dual practice, which David Loy very clearly articulated. I mean, I'd always known about it, but he sort of calls it a dual practice of inner transformation. So like the spiritual aspect of our practice, which is meditation or chanting or whatever, and the outer activism side of our practice. And that the two are entirely interconnected, or can be entirely interconnected if we choose for them to be so. And David Loy also talks about the eco-sattva path, which is about, as bodhisattvas, to understand our vow, to really relieve suffering and bring joy, not only to other human beings, but to the entire earth systems, in a way. I'm just going to briefly mention also the three divides. I don't know if you know about Otto Scharmer and Theory U, or Presencing Institute. So they talk about, again, needing to heal these three divides, which are our divide from ourselves, which is the spiritual divide, that we are not, we are very disconnected from ourselves societally. I'm not talking about us particularly here necessarily. The social divide, which also leads to injustice and inequity and everything, which is our disconnection from other, so our self disconnected from other, and the ecological divide, our disconnection from nature. And they go into much more depth, which I won't do now. So just to finish off with a PowerPoint, I just had these three questions really. How can we deepen our experiences of our ecological selves? What new insights and impulses can we discover in this hour together? And how can we use all of ourselves, including our fear and grief and anger and any other aspects of ourselves, to create joy and community? And I think one of my main insights recently for my own practice has been that I have to also embrace the people and the aspects of the system that I like least, because I'm also internalizing them. So how can I really embrace, the greed that I see, or the inequity that I see in the world, and somehow lean into it? So I'm going to also suggest an exercise in a minute. So there are two things I just want to suggest to kick us off, and then for us to discuss and share in smaller groups as well. So is there so far any questions or anything that anybody would like to say, or if not, then I will invite you to just take part in a guided meditation, or maybe a journey, an inner journey. So which is a journey through nature. And you may want to have hold at the back of your head very lightly, or the back of your being, a question. And that question can be, what can I learn? What can Earth tell me? What is my purpose? It could be anything you want. So if any question that you hold at this moment in your heart, your head, your being, You may want to just hold that lightly, not with a sense of I have to have this answered, but just to have it as a held question with you. So I'll invite you to join me in this. And again, you can stop off. We'll go on a little journey, and you can stop at any point. You can rest in a place for longer. You can use it in any way that you want. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, to feel your feet on the ground, to connect to your breath. And just to take a little moment to also find the places of unease in your body and embrace those. To really embrace whatever tensions there are, to be curious about them, to breathe into them. And with it, any in-breath that you want, you can breathe in the compassion of the universe. And with an out-breath, you can let go of anything that's you're holding and let it drain through your feet down into the earth beneath you. The earth is amazing and resilient and is actually taking so much of our grief, our pain, our anger. And in your own time, just breathe in stardust and the universe, and breathe out and let go. And take a few moments just to breathe in and out and enjoy our connection with the sky, the earth, the water, the universe within us. And I'm now going to invite you to imagine that you're in a sky, a night sky, that you're in a house, your own place of belonging maybe, and that you take a step outside into the night and you allow the light behind you just to leave you, and you step into the darkness and the unknown and into a space that you may not know, and that we just together walk down this path that has already been trodden by other feet. And we walk down through a field. You can smell the earth beneath you. It's been raining, the dankness of the earth. There's some moonlight, but only a slither of moon, so it's not very bright. And you're having to feel your way down this path. You come to some steps and you go down these steps. And it might be a bit slippy, so you take care. And you go down the steps into further darkness, and you can feel that we're now walking into a grove of trees. And just be aware of the wind in the trees, the sounds that you can hear, the rustling of the leaves on the ground. And as you carry on, you may want to go and just connect to one of the trees, feel its rough bark. Be aware of under your feet, the teeming life forms in the soil, the leaves that have fallen. They might be dank, a bit of rustling. And whichever tree you choose just to make friends with, allow yourself to feel the energy of this tree that's been there for decades. It's been there for a long time. It has a wisdom, this tree. And you may want to ask your question, just lightly, and see if you can hear an answer coming from the tree. or it may be from the wind, sound, and possibly there is no answer. Possibly it's just about sharing the question. You may even not want to share the question, but just use the time as you wish. And breathing in the tree, the forest, the earth. Hearing the sounds. You can hear in the distance the rustling of a brook. And if you so wish, you can either stay with the tree or you may want to walk on towards the river, the brook, the water, through the trees, to the water. You may want to put your hands in the water, the constantly flowing water. As it jumps over stones, seeps into the earth. And again, maybe the water has something to say to us. And let's together listen. Listen deeply to our inner selves, our connection with the earth, our feet and are connected to the earth. And listen deeply to see if there's something new we may hear, something we may be reminded of that we already know. Just take another few minutes, breathing deeply and appreciating the tree, the river, the earth, the night, moon, stars, the clouds, cold, and whenever you're ready and in your own time, you may want to open your eyes and take the opportunity just to write something, either if you have a notepad near you, to draw something, or to write something into the chat box as well. If there's anything you'd like to share, you don't feel obliged to. But if there's something you'd like to share, please do, so that we can all take part in that. So thank you for starting to share. It's fantastic. Take care of the nature. I'll just read a few things out. I hope you don't mind. It's your home, the tree said. Rewild us. I had a vision of green sea of trees going around the city of Cambridge to connect different green spaces and allow people to walk in forests uninterrupted. Beautiful. Sensuous coming home. Tree told me to enjoy and relish my time on this earth. Fantastic. Thank you. So please feel free to carry on writing things, or you may just want to reflect yourself. Tree told me to listen. Yes. Great. Well, thank you for that. And I'm now going to suggest a little exercise which you may want to join in. If you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to. But it's something called the stuck exercise, which the Presencing Theatre uses. And it's something that I've used in theatre explorations as well. And it's a very simple physical way. You can do it sitting down or you can stand up. And it's really about holding, again, something, if there's something I feel stuck with, I can demonstrate it for a second if you want. So say I'm stuck with something, or something that I do not want to embrace, or something that I feel conflicted with. I can just take it on, and I can find a way of expressing it in my, through like a posture. And then the beauty of it is that I can then lean into this. So in a way, it's about embracing the stuckness. It's about embracing whatever the pain is. And so leaning into it, which means just exaggerating it. So at the moment, I'm just standing here. I've got these two fists I've made, and they're pushing against each other. I don't need to tell you what it's about, but I exaggerate it. I lean into it. And I keep exaggerating it until I cannot hold this position any longer. Because I cannot hold it. It just becomes unbearable. And then it just naturally has to flow into something else. It can become an explosive movement, or it might be something quite gentle. So I'm now just allowing it to carry on until I am somewhere else. And the other thing which I forgot to say to you is that in that first position, which was, I can find a sentence, just a very simple sentence. So mine is, I am fighting myself. And then in the movement that happened afterwards, which I can still remember, and I ended up with my hands again together, but in a different way, touching my cheek. I might just say, I caress myself. So does that make sense? So you can explore it in any way you want, but it's very powerful because there's something about the transitioning movement from one to the other that is a very helpful journey from one place of feeling stuck or disconnected or anything into a place of newness, a different place. It may not even be much better. So it's not about we've got to find the solution. It has to be much better. So you're very welcome to switch off your cameras if you'd like to do it without. And I'll just talk you through it. And if you don't want to do it, that's also fine. You can just take a few moments just to have a drink of water or whatever. So I invite you to think of something that makes you feel stuck, angry, or in some way that is a dilemma or a paradox that you want to explore in some way. Think of it, don't worry about it too much, and just allow your body to take a position that expresses that dilemma, stuckness, pain, whatever it is. So just allow yourself to take that. This can take just a couple of minutes. So you take on the position. So mine is actually now a different one. I now feel I'm being drawn into different directions. Find a sentence that expresses that feeling. a short, pithy sentence. And when you've got that sentence, start to lean into it. So you start to exaggerate the position that you're in. And you just keep leaning into it, embracing it in a way and exaggerating it until your body just naturally has to move and has to go somewhere else. And it might be just an explosive big move to something else, or it can be a slow transition. So allow that transition to happen. And when your body has come to rest, just think of a sentence that just encapsulates where you are now. Fantastic. Whenever you're ready, shake it all out. I think that's very important. Just shake it all out. Do a real dog shake, like get rid of the energies. And if you feel like sharing, you can put it in the chat box. I'll just say what my last one was, which was I've put it into the chat box. Sometimes when demonstrating, it's not so easy, but I just had a very profound insight in all of that as well. And so that's the other thing to just contemplate. Is there an insight, something that you can learn from this? So if you're happy to share, please put it in the chat box. If not, don't worry at all. Oh, thank you, Nancy. So Nancy says, enabled me to let go of craving for a certain outcome. Thank you. Because we can also learn from each other, and each other's, we all experience similar aspects. Thank you for that. So any questions as well, or anything that, you may feel that didn't work for you at all, and that's also fine. Or you may feel it was a profound moment, or it might have been just be like, nah. So please don't worry. Great, thank you so much. So basically now I've got one little thing, which, if that's okay with you, get out of my way. Oh, sorry, we've got some more. Thank you very much. Help me to be patient and recognize gradual progress. Thank you. Get out of my way. Phew, that was hard work. Thanks, Shantigaba. So another thing which is actually very powerful is that we can collectively dance together. So I've got a tiny little video which David said he would share with us, which is only 2 minutes long. Again, you can put yourself in gallery view if you want to see each other. If you don't, you can also switch your camera off, or you can take part or not take part. You can take part sitting, or you can stand up and jump around. And it's a very sweet little video. So David, if you're happy to share it, and it just, for me, it just brings joy. And sometimes we just have to remember, after all the grief and pain that we constantly experience, is the joy that we can create together as well by just dancing. So is David still there? Fantastic. Thank you, David.
Jerusalem, ikhaya lami, ilondoloze, uhambe nami, zungangishilana. Jerusalem, ikhaya lami, ilondoloze, uhambe nami, zungangishilana. Dawo yami ayikholana, buso wami awukholana. Ilondoloze, zuhambe ndawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana ndawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami ndawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana
Thank you, David. I hope you enjoyed it. I did. I think my learning is dance more. Brilliant. So I'm going to suggest that we go into some breakout rooms now. And you're free to talk about anything you want, of course, but you may want to consider these two questions, which are, how can we use all of ourselves, including our fear and grief, to create joy and community? And how can we deepen our experiences of our ecological selves? So I'll put them into the chat box. Oops. Sorry, put them into the chat box. And you'll be in groups of 4 or 5, I hope. And please feel free to share. And if anybody wants to afterwards feedback from your group, then that would be lovely. Or you may want to just put things in the box. So have a great time sharing and talking with each other. Thank you so much, David. So, but about 12 minutes, maybe. Sorry, I'm running a bit late. So I hope you had enjoyable sharings in your breakout rooms. Ours was great. I really loved it. Thank you so much to everyone. Is there anything anybody'd like to share? I mean, also, please put it in the chat box. It'd be just great to hear. We talked a little bit about narrative and metaphor, and also creating joy as well as facing the suffering. But please, if anybody feels like writing something in the chat box or saying something, you're very welcome. We've got a couple more minutes. Thank you. Collective walking meditation is wonderful. Yeah, thank you, Nancy. Yeah, we were talking about how important it is to go for a walk in the park as well. Yeah, anybody else? You can also speak if you want to, just unmute yourselves. So otherwise Yes, yeah, thank you. So yeah, I was aware that I hadn't really explained the ecological selves very much. It's a sort of deeper, but it's about, in a way, I suppose, the greening of the self, understanding ourselves as part of ecosystems and understanding ourselves. Yeah, it is, again, in that Buddhist term that self doesn't exist as an entity, in a way, that we are part of ecosystems, and to understand that within that our intent can also transform things. So yes, I think that's probably a whole nother session, but thank you. Yes, I thank you for asking that question.
I thought we had a beautiful connection of that having fun, being joyful is a space of recreation, of, getting away from all the weight that we can feel, with all the suffering we look at, and that it is where we're heading. We're heading to a more joyful, freer way of being. So I thought it was a nice way of, seeing different ways that joy is really important, and that I guess we can't make it without it. If there's no joy involved or no dancing involved, how could we manage, in a way?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I'll just read out a couple more things. we recorded the saying, if you can't dance to it, it ain't my revolution. Updated to, we need to show a way that is less costly and more fun. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Shantikawa. When in grief, rejoicing in the beauty in human beings when we care and love. Thank you, Cecile. And Jennifer then said, in that case, letting go of our own self and being part of a wider ecological self. Yes, exactly that. Helps with the fear and grief. One of our group talked about being more sensitized to plants as beings. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Thank you all so much for your rich sharings. I'm sorry, the session's come to an end. Thank you so much for your patience and being here. And I'll hand back to Shantikawa. Thank you.